Good morning, Key Stage 3. We are going to start a new study skills this week called mind mapping, which I know some of you already do in class, but I just want to make it really clear what a mind map is because it is a little bit harder and a little bit trickier than some people might think. I first of all want to define the difference between a spider diagram and a mind map. They are different things, although they look alike. So first of all, a spider diagram. A spider diagram breaks down an idea or a concept into lots of little bits and pieces of information. And as you can see, it's quite straightforward and it looks a little bit like a spider. And this might be something you could do in class if you are going to recall some information. Say if you want to know everything about World War II, what do you know? You might create a spider diagram just to show what you know. However, what we are working on is not a spider diagram. It is a mind map. This is what a mind map might look like. A mind map is different. It develops or maps out connections between ideas. And so in that way, it is a little bit more representative of your brain because your brain makes all of these different connections. So it's not just what do you know, it's not just key information, it's thinking about all the connections between things. So you have your main concept and idea, then you have your various themes or categories. Off of those, you have little branches, like little synapses in your brain. And these might be connections. They could be some questions that you have about the theme, and they could be ideas. Now, what's brilliant about a mind map is it can be done in a written format, or it can be done with little symbols and pictures as well. The idea is that you explore an idea, and so it really tests your brain in a much bigger way than the spider diagram. Step 1 is to decide whether a mind map is an appropriate study skill to use. My teacher's given me the character of Felix from a novel that I'm reading to look at this week. So I'm going to consider whether self-quizzing or looking at key words or mind mapping is the most appropriate course of action. Now, self-quizzing could work, but I really want to think about this character in lots of developed detail. So I'm going to do a mind map on this because there's lots of information. I've read a bit of the novel, and I think that will really help me to make deeper connections with other ideas in the novel. So here's my information. I'm going to read it, and I'm just simply going to go through, find out what that key information is for some of my themes on my mind map. Step 2 is to begin setting up the very centre point of my mind map. So as always, using a ruler, written my title and my date, and it references what I am doing so that my tutor can have a better understanding of what I'm trying to achieve. I'm going to take this information and pop it into that central part of my mind map. Okay. So at the moment, it just looks like a spider diagram. So I need to branch off of this and start doing some deeper thinking. And so one of the things that my knowledge organisers told me is that Felix, the character, our protagonist, is Jewish. And so I want to do some thinking about why that's important to the novel and the history of the novel and what was going on at the time. So I know, for example, that this novel is set in World War II or during World War II. And so Jews were treated then with hostility and brutality by the Nazis. So I'm going to write a little bit about that. So I've done all my thinking about this one theme, about the fact that he's Jewish and everything that I perhaps already know about World War II. Perhaps my teachers already told me a little bit about anti-Semitism before we started reading the novel. So I've got all of these thoughts. I've also got some questions, and I think it's really important that a mind map doesn't have to have all the answers on it. It can also provoke thoughts that you could perhaps go and ask your teacher, or perhaps go and do some research on yourself. So I'm just going to speed up this process and complete the other stems so that you can see what a final one might look like. And of course, no mind map will ever look exactly the same. So my version will look different to anybody else's, because it's just the way that our thoughts are organised in our brain. It's about trying to get it all out on the page so that you've got things to point to and think about. So as you can see, I finished my mind map. This is all the thinking and ideas that I have at the moment about Felix. Of course, the more I read the novel, the more information I'll be given, and perhaps the more thoughts I will have. I've colour coded it as well, and I think if you've got lots of different colour pens, that can be a nice way to show the inner ideas here, your main sort of themes or branches off, and then all of your final thinking around the outside. So give it a go. I think it's a really wonderfully creative way of exploring one of your topics or ideas in your knowledge organiser.